You know, I gotta say, one of the few good things about X and Y was definitely the introduction to Mega Evolution. All good, all dandy. And yet, they had the nerve to introduce Mega Medicham before Mega Shinx? Garbage! Throw the whole mechanic away! Hey yo, what's up y'all? Soul here and welcome back to my story mode. You guys already know the drill. I've got a couple of things I need to say, and I'm sure that a couple of you don't really care about all the extra stuff, so I'm gonna leave all the timestamps right down below for you. So as a couple of you may remember, we decided to turn this "was this game actually good or bad" situation into a series. We've had a lot of Pokemon games over the years that we've really changed our minds about growing up. So, looking at this very heated discussion when it comes to Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, we figured it was about time we take a look back and really see if these games were as good or as bad as we remember. Cause in the end, who knows, these remakes may end up holding up a lot stronger than we think. Hence why we're going to be going back and forth with this little series for a little while up until the release of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. When it comes to these discussions, some of them I may hand off to you guys and some of them may be my own personal opinion. It kind of depends on the game. In this particular situation, this one is all you guys. I do have another one of these in the works though, and that next one is kind of important, so I'm gonna need y'all to stay tuned for me. And speaking of content to stay tuned for, I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all, your boy has been playing quite a bit of Pokemon Unite in between working on videos. So for anyone that cares about content regarding that, also make sure to stay tuned. I've got a couple of opinions on it now that I've had it for about a week. And finally, as per usual, I'm sure that by the time this video goes out, there's gonna be another poll waiting for you guys in my community tab. So, make sure to go over there and give your opinion on whatever I ask to make sure that your answer or reply gets featured in the next video. I love hearing your guys' responses, opinions, and ideas about things that I didn't even consider. So, while we're still doing these polls like maniacs, I suggest you guys getting your opinions out there so that we could talk about it in the next video. So with that, I think that's about enough jib-jabbing about the extra stuff. Why don't we start getting into the main topic of the video? Last week in a poll, I asked you guys if Pokemon X and Y were as good or as bad as everybody remembers. Your guys' responses were a lot more tame than I expected them to be completely honest with you. Based on the results of that poll, it seemed like a lot of you guys either thought the game was straight up good or you just had mixed feelings about it. And since I'm ever so curious, why don't we start going ahead and getting into your guys' responses? Was Pokemon X and Y as good or as bad as we remember? Let's hit it up. Kicking things off, we have Christian Thompson who says, X and Y is tricky. There's a ton of flaws with X and Y, yet I had a lot of fun with it, especially with shiny hunting, having the friend safari, Pokeradar, horde encounters, and chain fishing for different shiny hunting methods. I'd really love to see a bunch of different methods beside the Masuda method in future games. But if you take away the shiny hunting beside the fun of competitive battling I had, I'd say the games were meh. I gotta say, now that you really bring it to light, Pokemon X and Y did really try to introduce a lot of new mechanics in the Pokemon series. Unfortunately, a lot of these mechanics didn't make it past X and Y for some reason. As someone who did most of his shiny hunting in Pokemon Sword and Shield, I can tell you right now, I probably would have been ecstatic to learn about all these other methods to getting shiny Pokemon besides just the Masuda method. Don't get me wrong, it is very effective and I got a lot of shiny Pokemon out of it. Please don't get that twisted. However, it would have been nice to do something a little less tedious and redundant. I mean, then again, all of shiny hunting is, but you know what I mean. It would have been nice to switch it up every now and again. And I do see what you're saying at the end there. As someone who also didn't really participate too much in shiny hunting back in the day or competitive battling, there wasn't really a lot for me to do after the main game. I mean, granted, I guess there was the Looker missions, but I didn't even really like Looker all that much, so I was kind of reluctant to do those. So in a way, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you there, but I'll save those opinions for the end. Next along here, we have Quincy Murray, who says, X and Y is the best example of what's wrong with current Pokemon. Easy gameplay, few Pokemon, lazy story, but its story probably has the most potential of any Pokemon game. It has a lot of problems, but I still think they are good games. You hit a couple of nails on the head there, brother. I can't really argue with you. For one thing, the games have felt a lot easier since X and Y came around. Fun fact, I had absolutely no idea that almost every trainer in the game only had 4 Pokemon until you guys told me. Just because it has Elite Four in the title doesn't mean that's all the Pokemon that they should be rocking. X and Y was also the first time that I realized that I really wasn't all that invested in the story. This game came out in 2013, meaning I was about 14 years old. Around that time, I wasn't really all that critical when it came to games. So for me around that age to finish a Pokemon game, look at it and go like, wow, that story was kinda lame, is kinda huge for me. 9 times out of 10, I have to go back way down the line and look at the games that I played in my childhood to recognize if they actually had good stories or not. So for me to sit there and recognize that when I was younger is kind of a yikes. Now, as far as what you said about having the most story potential out of any Pokemon game, I have to disagree on that one. I still think that one goes to Gen 2. Not to say that this one didn't have any potential, it definitely did with the whole war background and everything like that, but I just don't really see how they could make that all that much more unique. But hey, whatever, maybe that's just how I see it. Next up, we have Cosmic Donut, love that name by the way, who says, best online in Eevee training, worst story mode in post-game. Game was way too easy. Should have had difficulty options. Honestly, by this point, I think most Pokemon games should have difficulty options. By now, us as an older audience just understand the games a little bit too well, so we just want the mainline games of Pokemon to be a little less mindless when it comes to the battling. Now when it comes to the online, I've seen around a couple of times here and there that the online was at its peak in X and Y, and I'm not really sure I understand. Besides just Wonder Trading, all of my trading and battling was just done with friends locally, so I didn't really participate in online stuff all that much back in the day. Although it would not shock me if you told me that it was simplified way better than Sword and Shield was, because Sword and Shield is unnecessarily complicated to get to play with your friends. It's annoying. Sure, it's as simple as putting in a 4-number code or whatever, but at the end of the day, we want to just set up lobbies and things like that to have a private situation with our friends if we really wanted to watch each other battle, or battle each other, or take turns, or whatever. I just think that there's just better ways to do this. What I do remember from X and Y was that when you were playing, if your friend was online and also playing, you could see that and you can trade them right then and there, or you could immediately challenge them to a battle, and you know what? That was pretty convenient. So if that's what everybody was talking about, then quite honestly, yeah, that is most definitely something that needs to make a comeback. It was instant access to your friends if you wanted to join them in something or do whatever else. Hell, I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correctly that there was also an option to talk to random people online if they were nearby or something like that. I'm not sure how accurate that is, don't hesitate to correct me because I haven't played X and Y in a very long time, but if I'm on the money or on the nose, dope. Now, I will 100% agree with you on the Eevee training situation. Creating mini games to... Come on, Pokemon, that was amazing! Why would you take something like that away? I remember playing that little soccer mini game, not even because it was for Eevee training a lot of the time. Sometimes it was literally just that fun. That, and you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and throw in Pokemon and Me because that's a feature I forgot about until right now too. Both of those things, some of the best things about X and Y. I'm really sad that those never made a real comeback. But whatever, it's not like we could really sit here and dwell on that, now can we? And yep, 100% you are right, there was no such thing as post-game in X and Y. After I was done, I literally just made my way back to the Pokeball Factory and listened to that theme for hours. That was it. Truly a tragedy. Let's go ahead and move on. Next, here we have the homie Riot Kitty who says, honestly speaking, it's one of the 2 Pokemon games I actively dislike, the other being Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. The story was very bland, Team Flare made no sense and didn't match Lysander, the only saving graces were the Looker mission and the ending with AZ and his Floette. Even Megas were poorly written into Kalos, requiring a tower checkpoint to be inserted into the region. Even Megas were written better in Hoenn with Oras. Wish the online system was kept though. Let's put it like this, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon didn't even need to exist, period. The original story was completely fine and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon didn't add anything to it. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about, I just do not like the existence of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So, as you stated, you are very correct. The story was crazy bland. I did not care about Team Flare or Lysander as enemies at all. I mean, I guess they technically posed a threat, but not enough for me to care. Like, they just really didn't strike me as really good enemies or antagonists. I thought we were getting back on the right path when we got the Aether Foundation, but clearly not, because that mess that we got in Sword and Shield was unacceptable. And now that you bring up how Mega Evolution was written into the game, I'm not even sure if I remember what that was. I don't remember anything when it comes to the lore of Mega Evolution now that I think about it. It was probably something so niche because they figured, you know what, nobody's gonna care about how Mega Evolution came to be. Let's just add it, maybe slip in how it got there, maybe something stupid, whatever, and maybe nobody will think about it. I mean, you guys were kind of clever because obviously Mega Evolution was probably the best of the gimmicks you've given us, but, you know, we still like our lore. You know, we love our Pokemon to have some kind of explanation. Especially when you decide to throw in some random lore information that's apparently been around for hundreds of thousands of years. You kinda gotta explain that a little bit better. Everybody was okay with it happening in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire because it worked there and you explained it well there for some reason as opposed to where it debuted, but whatever, it happened, I'm not gonna argue with it anymore. We're gonna go ahead and move on here with Hen next, who says, X and Y was an okay game, lack of content, but it was acceptable, still better than Sword and Shield in that regard. Okay, I'm actually gonna go ahead and disagree with you on this one. Pokemon Sword and Shield is definitely not lacking content, especially now with the DLC available. If you want it, it's there for you, but it's definitely not lacking in content. I've spent more time in this game than almost any other game. At least with Sword and Shield, we have raid battles, raid adventures, story modes from 2 different DLCs. Post-game for X and Y was the Lurker missions. That is pretty much all I could think of as of right now. So if the argument here is that X and Y had more to do than Sword and Shield, I'm gonna go ahead and give the edge to Sword and Shield. But hey, if you recall enjoying X and Y more than Sword and Shield, then that's all about preference. That's totally fine. Anyhow, how is about we move on next to Devesta the Seeker, who says, Mega Evolution was a neat addition, but aside from that, the change to lifeless 3D models was overall a bad idea. They could have stayed 2D, which would have made their budget way more open. It's like they had the 2D bad, 3D good mentality. I mean, yeah, you're pretty much on the money with that one. Now, I don't hate the 3D models or anything like that. They definitely had to put a lot of work in to rebuild all of these 3D models for the Pokemon, which I definitely appreciate. However, when you compare those models to pretty much any of the games before X and Y, or even the other spin-off games like XD Gale of Darkness, you kind of come to realize that the models that we have for the mainline games currently are pretty lifeless in comparison. Half the Pokemon don't look nearly as menacing or as cool as they used to, and there are just some plain stupid looking models. Like Salamence? Why is Salamence always flying? That irks the hell out of me. That goes for some of the bird Pokemon too, like Staraptor. It's almost like its entire design is ruined because I don't want to look at it while it's looking that way. And honestly, I think that one of the worst culprits personally, that goes to Electros. They did my man so dirty. He looked so fierce and ready to go, ready to rumble in Gen 5. He looked nice standing on his feet like that. He looked ready to brawl. In Gen 6, he's always flying and like swimming in midair and it looks disgusting. I'm never using that Pokemon again simply because its design is now ugly to me. That is a tragedy. Long story short, there's a lot of personality and things like that about general Pokemon that suffered just because of the transition from 2D to 3D. Some of them straight up got their personality ruined, some of them just didn't transition well to 3D, but whatever the case may be, the majority got hit kinda hard, and that is an absolute travesty. And this was all simply because Pokemon decided they needed to quote-unquote get with the times, when really, that wasn't really necessary. And then to top it off, unlike the generations before Generation 6, you know, 3, 4, and 5, where they always got remodels to their art, we have been reusing the same models for the mainline games for the past decade. Yikes. This was the move of Pokemon trying to get with the times, and apparently they figured out that reusing models to save money was getting with the times. So that sucks. What can you do? Anyhow, we're gonna move on next to William Isaac, who says, I broke my rule of exclusive gen running Pokemon with X and Y. Pokedex was so small, and I hate the fact that you can't deactivate skates, and it had 0 difficulty. Love the personalization mechanic stuff though. See, exclusive gen running is something that I also do now, but I started that with Sun and Moon, fun fact. I didn't do it with X and Y because we transitioned to a 3D model situation, so I wanted to see what all of my favorite Pokemon looked like in 3D models. However, I did not realize that X and Y only really introduced 76 Pokemon. Pretty sure that's just about the smallest that they've introduced to date. And this is a number that I had to look up. I'm not even sure if that includes Mega Evolution or not. Whatever the case, I will say it like this. While they introduced kind of enough to fill up a team, I don't really care for a lot of the designs in X and Y. I liked Greninja a lot, I really loved Goodra, Talonflame is pretty sick, Pangoro and Aegislash, absolutely clean. Other than that though, a lot of these other designs kind of feel like stretches to me. When I did my first playthrough, I absolutely regretted picking Chespin. I hate its final evolution so much. It is so ugly. I hate that thing. I don't even remember what its name is. Also, I do not care how competitively viable either of them are. I do not like the designs for Klefki or Floette whatsoever. They're both very stupid to me. I mean, come on. A ring of keys, bro? How is that not a man-made Pokemon? That is so stupid to me. And this is coming from a guy that loves Kingdom Hearts, where they fight with keys. Come on now, dude. Also, I didn't really have a problem with the skates. I actually thought they were really cute. I thought that was actually very neat. I would bring them back if I could. And finally, for the sake of not getting too repetitive, we're gonna go ahead and end it off with Outmodded47, who says, "This is adding on, but I think it was confirmed that it wasn't even finished by launch. There were a lot more things that were going to be implemented, but wasn't because of the lack of time they had to develop the game. I say it's a good game because of Megas, competitive, and for the first time 3D Pokemon game. It was good. Wish the story was better, but that's really it. It would not shock me in the slightest if you told me that that was the reason that X and Y suffered as much as it did, considering the fact that that's probably the most likely case for future Pokemon games. Sword and Shield definitely suffered. A lot of people are absolutely worried about Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl because of lack of time, and who knows what's gonna happen with Pokemon Legends. I don't know if X and Y is where the problem started, but if you told me that that's where the problem became most prominent, I wouldn't argue with you. Like we said, Pokemon is definitely learning how to come to terms with the current times. A lot of game companies that don't make nearly as much as Pokemon have definitely come to show them that they could release unfinished games as long as they get finished through updates later, because people will still go out of their way to pay for them. And you can argue with me about that one all you want, but I'm just gonna sit here and remind you about what happened with Pokemon Sword and Shield, where not only did we not get finished games until we got the DLC, but we had to pay for it. It was DLC. Of all the examples to learn from, Pokemon is definitely learning from the wrong ones a lot of the time. So anyhow, that just about does it for this one. So if we had to give some kind of verdict, yeah, it was kind of as bad as a lot of people remember. I mean, I'm glad that everybody's giving it another shot again and reliving the childhood and enjoying themselves, but in comparison to the grand scheme of Pokemon games, it didn't really have a lot to offer besides Mega Evolution and a couple of kind of unique mechanics that didn't even make it past its own generation. This game had a lot of potential and a lot riding on it to be the best start to the 3D era of Pokemon, and it kind of fell flat on its face. Looking back on everything, Pokemon X and Y was definitely a bottom 3 for me. Where it lands on bottom 3 is kind of hard to say, but I'll have to calculate that another time. So I guess that just about sums it up for me and a couple of you guys. However, the rest of you that didn't get to get your opinion out there, how do you guys feel about it now after this very surprisingly civil discussion? Was it actually even more phenomenal than we all remember and Pokemon games going forward should take example? Or was it the worst of the bunch and should absolutely never be touched again and left to rot? Let me know what y'all think, but with that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and skedaddle on out of here. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this. And with that, I'm gonna get up out. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time.